Welcome to this video for English 2010. In this video, we want to talk about the report and how to create an outline for your report. So we've been working recently on this research report process where you created a question, developed a proposal, then you started to collect secondary sources. And we even talked about recently about then collecting information from primary sources. The final step in the process then is to compile all of that research into a report. But that process could include several sub-steps. So here they are. We want to make an outline, develop a draft, visit with the tutor, and then based on the feedback from your instructor and from the tutor, you're going to revise your draft so that you can complete that final draft. And this is the process that we will use over the next several weeks. But let's talk more specifically about this outline and how the outline of a research report differs from the outline of an argumentative essay. In an argumentative essay, you have your introduction, your body, and your conclusion. And in your introduction, you introduce your topic, you have a thesis statement, and then the body provides evidence to help support your thesis statement, which you then summarize in your conclusion. But that's different kind of writing from what we do with the research report. So here's a picture of the first page of a typical research report in a social science magazine. As I mentioned previously, both social science, things like linguistics and psychology, sociology, as well as sciences like biology, chemistry, physics, tend to use the research report format to share a lot of what researchers are doing in those fields. And these are the main sections that we typically see in a research report. These sections usually have headings in the research report to help readers quickly access the information that they want from the research article. This type of writing is generally very direct and straightforward. The goal is that the reader can easily find the information they want that will help them either with their own research or help them to continue understanding the research of others. So the first section after your introduction and your name would be the abstract. Now, this word abstract has a specialized meaning when we talk about a research report. And really, we will go over that meaning and we'll talk about each of these other 5 sections. So first, the abstract is usually, even though it appears first, it is written last. You can't write it until you've written the rest of the report because it's a summary of the article. And typically, it will contain at least one section that summarizes each of the 4 other main sections. The introduction part that introduces your topic, the methods part that explains how you did your research, the results part that explains what you learned from your research, and then the discussion and conclusion part, which helps your audience understand how to use the results or the information that you collected for a particular purpose. So the abstract is usually about a paragraph long at the beginning of your paper. It has the heading abstract, but you can't write this until you're done with the whole paper. So when you're writing your outline, you can put in a heading for the abstract, but you won't be able to put any information in there until you've written the rest of the paper. Now, the introduction section is actually the section of the paper that will probably be most familiar to you. In many ways, this is similar to an essay. We sometimes call this a literature review. Now, this is a little bit confusing because literature in English often is used to describe reading the great works of fiction, novels written by famous authors. That's not what literature means here. When we talk about a research report, literature just means a summary of current research related to your topic. And that's really what this section should be. You should introduce your topic and explain what you have already learned about that topic based on the research that you have already read. So in many ways, this is kind of like the argumentative essay. Now, the difference is with an argumentative essay, you have a thesis statement, and then you end with a conclusion. With a literature review or the introduction section, we want to introduce our problem and then describe what we've learned from other sources related to this research topic. And then we should end with a research question. What don't we still know? What question do we still have about this topic that we haven't been able to answer already with the current research that you've studied? And so that's what we typically see at the end of an introduction section. So when you're writing your outline for the introduction, you'll want to talk about what you've already learned about this topic from your secondary sources, and decide how you want to organize that information. Do you want to cover it source by source, or do you want to cover it topic by topic, and how each of the sources may relate to each of those subtopics? Now, the next section is the method section. This is an explanation of how you tried to answer this research question using some primary research. You've already explained your secondary research in the introduction section. So the method section becomes about describing the process of how you further answered your question through primary research. So you would describe your subjects or the people. Who did you interview? Give us some information about them. Why are they relevant sources of information about your topic? Is it because they're people who have lived an experience related to what you're studying? Or are they experts who have specialized knowledge about your topic? Whatever it is, you want to explain who those people are. When did you interview them? How long did it take? Where did you interview them? And then what instruments or tools did you use? In other words, if you used a survey or you asked them some questions, what are the questions or items in your survey? Tell us exactly what they are. Or you could include a reference to a document at the end of your report. We call that an appendix. And then you have a copy of your survey at the end of the report. You could also describe your data analysis. What did you do with the information that you received from your primary sources? Sometimes, if you do a really large survey, your data analysis might involve looking at the averages of people's responses and finding out, on average, how do people feel about a topic? Other kinds of data analysis, maybe you're only interviewed a few people, and instead you're looking at analyzing some common themes and comparing how the different people thought or felt about the particular questions you asked. So when you write this section, you'll want to write it like you're giving a list of instructions, almost like a recipe for how to do research. And so you'll describe, I did this, then I did this, then I did this, and I used these things. What you don't want to do in this section is tell what the results are of your research. That's for the next section. In this section, all you're doing is trying to help someone understand if they wanted to reproduce or redo your primary research study, what would they have to do? Who would they have to talk to? What kind of tools would they have to use? And how would they have to analyze the data so that they could come up with a result similar to your own? So when you create your outline for this section, that's what you want to include some information about who you interviewed, where, how, why, and what you used to collect the information and to analyze the information. Now in the results section, this is often the most interesting part of the research because it's where you try to answer the question that you asked at the end of your introduction. What did you learn from your primary research collection that helped you answer that question? Do you now better understand that question than you did before because of the information that you collected? And so this is a section where you would list your research question, or if you have two, you list one, give an answer, list the next one, and give an answer. So it might be a very short section, but it's where you provide the most direct answer that you have found to the question that you were interested in. The discussion and conclusion section, sometimes they're separate, but often they're found together, especially in a smaller research report. And this is the so what section. This is where we talk about who cares about the question that you asked and why do they care about this question? What can they do or use with this question to improve the world or make life better for people? This is where you want to make a connection to your topic to the world outside. You also will want to maybe explain some problems you had with your research. Maybe you didn't ask the right question of people, or maybe you didn't interview enough people, or you didn't interview the right people. If you noticed any problems with your research, or you have suggestions on how to make that research better, you could describe it in this section as well. You may also, at the end of your research study, think, oh, well, now I have some new questions. There's new things I want to learn. Or if somebody wanted to do more research on this topic, here's things that I would suggest that they do. So you can make recommendations. What should researchers do in the future to better understand or address the types of things that you have been interested in studying? And so as you create your outline for your paper, you'll want to use these headings and these sections. And some of these sections you'll already have a lot of information for, especially the introduction and the methods section. And some of them, like the abstract, you'll have to wait until you have finished writing a draft of your report before you're ready to write that section. So just as a reminder, this is the process we'll use over the next couple of weeks. If you haven't already completed your secondary research and your primary research, you need to get those done so that you can now be able to make your outline this week. Then you will take all of that information and develop your draft. Then you'll visit with a tutor, get feedback, and then you will revise that for the final draft of your research report. If at any time you have questions or you're confused about this process, please reach out to your instructor. I'd be very happy to help you.